Okay, hi. So I wanted to make this video because I guess it would help me with an experience I had, and it could help you. And as usual, if you stay tuned, I'll mention a few other things. So recently I was getting a taxi, and I was chatting to the taxi driver. I can have a kind of conversation in Chinese. I'm not fluent, but I was chatting to him a little bit. Every language is so hard to learn because there's just so many words, and yeah, but my listening is definitely beyond what my speaking is. And this guy was basically like, the driver, he was basically like, when are you going to leave China? And it kind of really, I guess, reminded me that it's unlikely that I will spend the rest of my life here, and the general society, I guess this is the most important thing, the general society of China does expect that foreigners are going to return home to their country. Now, does this affect your day-to-day life, and are foreigners still welcome in China? I would say they are. And I want to explain just a little bit about this, because when you first hear about this kind of thing, like especially if you're consuming a lot of, I guess, negative content about China from guys like Serpenza and Lauer86, you might sort of think, are foreigners really actually welcome in China? And the answer to that question, I would say, is yes, but, okay, so everybody's got a bit more experience of one another. Let me unpack this a little bit more. So in the past, and especially in the bigger cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Suzhou, any big city in the east of China has a lot of experience with foreigners. Foreigners are not a new phenomenon. And people realize that foreigners are just pretty much like a lot of people, and especially the people who have to deal with them, like if people have worked with foreigners or they've had a foreign manager, and that is a surprising number of people. Almost everybody who has worked in a foreign-owned factory or a company that's foreign-owned or a joint venture would have had some experience of dealing with foreigners. And if they haven't, they've heard of someone who has. So there's a lot of knowledge about foreigners in the east of China, in the big cities. And so there's a kind of like, I guess, understanding that foreigners are just regular people, you know? Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are like this, some of them are like that. Some of them are tall, some of them are fat, whatever. And people might have stories of, oh, this person married a foreigner or that person married a foreigner. I was actually talking to this guy, and he's a Chinese guy, and he's married a young lady. He's a young guy, and he's married a lady from Belarus. So there's a lot of these kinds of relationships, not just like foreigner Chinese woman or foreign man Chinese woman or foreign woman Chinese guy. Like there's a lot of these kinds of relationships around now. So people are used to it. But are we really welcome? If you read a lot of the media in China and you get into that kind of thing, a lot of people, as soon as people pop their head up above the parapet, they'll kind of get shot down. Like, you don't have a right to an opinion about this, or you don't have a right to an opinion about that. And my WeChat side name is actually in Chinese, so I'll often get told to like speak in Chinese. If I make a comment in English, people will assume that I'm Chinese, which is kind of cool. But people with like English names and English or Western looking profile pictures, people will just like tell them like, go back to your country. If you don't like China, just get out, and this kind of thing. And that is very common. As an English teacher in China, are you going to feel unwelcome? I wouldn't say so, because on the surface level, everybody you interact with is going to be really, really, really friendly to you. In what context do I sometimes feel unwelcome, or do I feel frustrated as a foreigner? I'll give you a good example. I went into a furniture store to buy some new furniture for the new house. I'll do a house tour soon. It's getting close to finish, but I might as well just do it when it's fully finished. And I'm like asking the prices of furniture, and I'm like looking at something, and I said, how much is that? And the guy's like, it's this much. And this is a commonly replicated piece. It's a like a cabinet. I guess it's from one of the dynasties, and there's a lot of copies of it. And this guy said it was like 40,000 RMB. Now, on Taobao and stuff, you can get the same cupboard for like 4,000, 5,000 RMB. So in situations like that, I do feel a little bit frustrated, and I just sort of think like, you know, like just because I'm a foreigner doesn't mean that I'm either rich or I don't know anything about prices or whatever. But that is a kind of situation you can have. In a market, do I feel like I would be ripped off if I'm buying a little bit of food in a market or some fish? I recently went into a fish shop and I said, how much is this fish? The guy had been sleeping, and he was clearly irritated to have been woken up by some foreigner asking about some fish that he probably wasn't going to buy, and I didn't even buy it. But he gave me a price, and I do believe the price he gave me was fair. It was just like, that's the price. So it doesn't always happen. Now, getting back to that driver, when are you going to leave China? It's very easy to get sensitive about that and sort of, I guess, confer some kind of like rude intention or some kind of like xenophobic intention onto that. He might have just been, he's just a regular guy. He's just trying to make small talk with me. He's just being polite. I don't think he meant anything really serious by that. Now, you might come to China and feel like, they don't respect me or they don't like me or whatever. You have to also remember the energy that you're putting off. Like if you genuinely are polite and smile and whatever, gruffness, which you can sort of get away with, which is almost, well, not almost, it's quite normal in Western countries to be a little bit gruff, especially for men, to be a little bit like, you know, I'm a man and, you know, don't bother me and this kind of thing. That kind of personality, it doesn't really fit in China, especially for foreigners. Like, it just, the local people, if they do interact with foreigners, they expect the foreigner to be gentle and smile and be polite and stuff like that. And here's another really great example of something like this. All right, so I have been living in the place where I live for like 7 or 8 years or longer. I forget. You know, it's a long time, and it's not 10 years, but it's like over 8 years for sure. And there's a whole bunch of old guys, and a lot of them play cards. And then there's a group of guys, and they just sort of talk to each other. They don't play cards. They're not interested in playing cards, and they have their own little area where they always sit together. And this guy knows my father-in-law, so he came into the house and was looking at the renovations and stuff. And this guy never used to say hello to me. He always ignored me. This guy's actually a minority guy. He's a Huimin. He's like his ancestors were foreigners, you know, and but he's Chinese. He's absolutely Chinese, but he's a minority in China. And yeah, he used to sell little cakes. Apparently, he used to have like a little cart that he used to use. And I've always kind of liked him, but he's never said hello to me. He's always kind of just ignored me. I've said hello to him. He's just looked at me like, what? And yeah, he's not a very good Muslim because he often has like a little beer. He's often carrying a little beer. And in summer, he's just got no shirt. And he's very slim and he's not very tall. And he's that kind of likable neighborhood character, I guess. And the other day I was walking to the subway station, and this little group, of which he's a member, he stopped me and he said, you know, he's talking to me, and he really speaks like a very strong Tianjinhua. You know, there's not a lot of Putonghua, it's just all Tianjin local language. And he said, what's your relationship to that family? Like, how do you know that family? And I just basically said, well, I'm married to their daughter. You know, I'm married to their daughter. And he said, oh, you know, and they didn't even know that. So I've been living around them for so many years and lining up and doing the COVID tests. They didn't know anything about me. and I guess they didn't care. It wasn't important. But today, he like made, ever since then, he's like, I am alive, I exist. And that is like, you don't get more like real person than somebody like that, you know. And he insists on saying hello to me now, and he always acknowledges me and greets me and stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's a good example. Do I feel like he wants me just to get on a plane tomorrow? Not at all. Not at all. I feel like he's kind of accepted me as a part of the community. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't know what everybody's thinking, and is it really important? But yeah, like that's just my story, I guess. And I will be doing a house tour soon. Now, also, I want to just mention like about the jobs and stuff. I've had not many like recent inquiries, but I'm still working through the inquiries I got. But anyway, I've had some success with the ones that I've already got, and yeah, I'm just being honest about that, you know, like I haven't got any new ones. But I did go and do the driving again. I drove like 150 kilometers per hour, so that was pretty cool. I got it up to 150. I didn't do it today, unfortunately. Maybe next month I'll do it a couple of times, the lady said. But yeah, I hope everybody's well out there. And if you want to work in China and have a job in China, please send me an email, and I will get back to you. I will reply back to you. Okay, bye-bye.